Sonic Rivals 2 is slightly better than its predecessor only because it has voice acting and slightly better music. As far as plot improvements,
meh.
But let's focus on Eggman Nega's appearances in this game. Basically, everyone has been notified that Chow have been disappearing, so they investigate, and lo and behold, Eggman Nega is taking Chow. Only he's yet again disguised as Dr. Robotnik. So I'll go back to calling him Robotnik Nega for a little while. This is, again, a choice that most fans didn't like / didn't understand. But since we've peeled back the layers of Eggman Nega, we understand why he is still playing dress up. It's for the same reason he did it in the first Rivals game. Though he hates Dr. Robotnik, he will inevitably want to be him, thanks to the clone complex he suffers from. So his first scene goes like this.
Well, if it isn't my favorite blue hedgehog. I heard you were looking for me.
That's right, Eggman. What have you done with the Chow?
Why, nothing, my dear hedgehog.
Don't play dumb with me. I know you kidnapped them, and I want to know what you're up to.
How rude to assume that I know anything about these missing Chow. Sonic, why not discuss this with my new creation?
Hey, we've got a bone to pick with you too. Eggman, where's the Master Emerald?
What are you talking about? Funny that I'm the first person blamed when something is missing.
Boy, do I know what you mean, Doc.
What did you say?
Never mind.
If you don't have anything better to do with your time, why not amuse yourself with my new creation? Ho, ho, ho! Ho, 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 ho! Look at what we have here. I do love entertaining guests.
Eggman Nega.
Eggman Nega?
Ah, Silver! Very perceptive. Nothing gets by you, I see.
Ho, 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 ho! Well, if it isn't Metal Sonic and my dear friend Shadow.
Doctor, what are you doing here?
Shadow, don't be fooled. That's not me. It's Eggman Nega.
Well, if it isn't my block-headed doppelganger. Are you stuck inside your machine?
So, you must be the one behind all this.
Step aside, Shadow. He's mine.
Well, since you're all here, my little contraption will chew you up and then have seconds.
We've got our polite and creepy and condescending Eggman Nega back, and I love it. I'm also happy that half of the cast already tear down his facade this early in the story. It's sort of hilarious and sad that he can no longer fool them with the Dr. Robotnik disguise, seeing as it's something he still relies on to feel anything. And now that they have so quickly torn it from him, I guess it's sad for Nega, but I think it's hilarious that Silver immediately slaps his shiz out of his face, like, nah fam, fool me once, shame on you, try to fool me twice and I'll wreck your fucking world! That's a great moment for Silver. Shadow's still slow on the uptake, but not by much, as Robotnik reveals Eggman Nega's trickery. He's still probably trying to get a handle on how Eggman Nega exists at all, so I'm gonna give him a pass. These are decent scenes, but again, I feel like the eeriness could be pushed way further and the manipulation should be present as well. But whatever, boss battle, then he escapes, and Robotnik tells Shadow that Eggman Nega is looking for the Chaos Emeralds for his ultimate plan, which is a doozy. I'll get into it later. Then one of the most irritating things about the story presents itself when Tails picks up a random page on the ground that fell from Robotnik Nega's person. And this random page just happens to have the most plot-relevant information on it. Tails and Sonic literally just so happen to pick up a piece of paper with some of the plot on it. They just walk in one direction and poof! A piece of the script for later lands right in front of them. This is the most frustrating thing about this game. This blatant insult to the viewer's intelligence. This is one of the biggest mistakes that a writer can make, making the plot just progress without any effort on anyone's part. A piece of paper falls on the ground and a character reads it off, and the information is vital to the entirety of the plot. This is like if in The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy on the way to Emerald City finds a piece of paper that says, "Yo, water can melt that witch, bitch. You should grab a water bottle at some point." Also, The Wizard of Oz isn't a floating head, that's a projection. Turns out you should pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Good luck, sincerely the writers. It's like, what's the point in even watching this shiz if there was no effort made into writing the story? Anyway, in Eggman Nega's next scene, we get one of the best lines anyone has ever said to Silver to date.
Hey, Espio! Where did you go?
Silver, I know you're responsible for the disappearing Chow,
That's right. To save our worlds.
but that doesn't make sense. Why?
It's no use, Silver.
What's up, Eggman? If you've got nothing to do with the missing Chow, then why run?
You also dropped this earlier. What does it...
What? Where did you get that?
No more time for small talk. Now listen.
Chill, Silver.
I'll take back that piece of paper if you don't mind. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my friend.
Okay, besides the hilarious Sonic 06 callback, everyone's got a sudden case of the dum-dums. First off, Sonic, if he has nothing to do with the missing Chow, you would still be chasing him. He's the bad guy, you're the good guy, you both hate each other. Of course he's going to run from you and he's going to attack you. So don't ask irrelevant questions. Second off, Tails, why would you show Eggman Nega the paper he dropped? Why not just ask him outright, what is the Ifrit and what does stealing Chow have to do with it? Why would you show him the paper? Eggman Nega, what do you mean, where did he get that? He just said you dropped it earlier. He got it from you after you dropped it. Were you not listening? And Silver, you said no more time for small talk, but then you said now listen and proceed to small talk. So is it no more time for small talk or is it time for more small talk? What are you saying? Then Sonic says, chill, Silver. Sonic, what do you mean, chill, Silver? He's trying to beat the bad guy before he can destroy the world. There's no time for chilling. Then Eggman Nega says he wants the paper back. But, like, why? There's nothing you don't already know that's on the paper. What do you need it for? It only has the Ifrit's name on it. And the next question is, why do you have a physical copy of documents with you on this dangerous chase? Why don't you have scans of the documents so that A, you can keep the hard copy safe back at home, and B, you don't lose pieces of it so that your enemies can potentially learn your plans before you're able to enact them? And the next scene just continues with the dumbness.
Now, what do we have here? A little forest expedition?
Is that the doctor? Metal Sonic, which one of those eggheads is that? Come on, not again.
So, is it true? Do you have an emerald detector?
I don't know who told you, but yes, it's true.
Why don't you let me have a try?
Not so fast, Rouge.
Hand it over, Eggman. I'm losing my patience.
If that's the way you feel, why not test your patience against my latest invention?
Could it be him? Come on, Metal Sonic. We've got to beat them to it.
Shadow, for the love of God. Dr. Robotnik sent Metal Sonic for a reason. Do you think he would randomly show up after he already told you Eggman Nega is where you are trying to wreck shiz? Then the line about Knuckles testing his patience against blah 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 is only there because the metal line was in the first Rivals and the writers wanted to copy and paste it in there awkwardly. Do you see the level of stupid the writers are operating on? All of this is a disaster of a script. I'm not going to point out any more writing flaws that don't apply directly to Eggman Nega, but I need you guys to understand how inept these people are and how off-model all the characters are because of them. The next scene I want to mention is this one that shows off some of Eggman Nega's physical skills.
Have
What's wrong, Doctor?
Eggman Nega has taken over my bandits and is destroying my base. I need you to destroy them to regain control.
Eggman Nega. Fine, leave it to me.
So while Eggman Nega is on the run from all 8 of these protagonists, he manages to reprogram all of Robotnik's badniks to work for him. He reprogrammed all of them. Do you realize how many badniks are in this level, let alone this entire game? To be able to reprogram them while on the run from the strongest and fastest characters in the series is an incredible feat, and Nega deserves some props for that. He really does.
Shadow, I learned who Eggman Nega was secretly communicating with.
Communicating? But with whom?
And what are you whispering about?
There you are, you fake.
So, Eggman, what are you trying to hide?
Nothing that concerns you, Sonic. Since you've got time on your hands, why not play with my new toy?
A minor nuisance.
Bet we can destroy it before you can, Shadow.
We'll see about that.
This scene actually works okay compared to the previous scenes of Travesty. I feel like this scene would have been the easiest to make creepy, seeing as Robotnik is about to reveal a secret of Eggman Nega and is immediately interrupted by Nega himself. It's like the scene in the first Rivals, where Rouge is trying to tell Shadow something about Eggman Nega but is stopped. Basically, giving this scene the same treatment as I gave that scene would make it way creepier. But it's fine the way it is, I suppose. Also, I'm loving how Shadow is starting to call him fake. That's gotta sting for Nega.
Look, since you trusted me, I'll tell you what's going on. Eggman Nega wants to unleash the Ifrit upon this world to destroy it.
Ifrit? So what do the Chow have to do with this?
How dare you try and relinquish my secrets! I'll punish you with my latest contraption!
Then bring it on!
Uh-oh. Here come Knuckles and Rouge.
Come on, SBO, we can take them all on!
Mike Pollock's voice acting is absolutely great in this scene. I love his jumps from Eggman Nega's more raspy and high-pitched voice to Robotnik's more normal voice. Not only the voice acting, but the cold and in-control facade that Eggman Nega is known for is dropped because Silver's premature revelation of his plans. I'm digging the different relationship they have and the changes it's gone through from the first Rivals to right now. And the beginning of Silver's next scene makes it even more poignant.
I need to take a rest.
So, what's going on? The mission isn't completed yet.
Eggman Nega is looking for Chow, as well as Chaos Emeralds.
Why the Chow?
Because the Ifrit he wishes to summon needs to consume them to become invincible.
It's going to eat the Chow alive? Incredible.
To be honest, my powers are almost exhausted. I'll need some rings to power myself back up.
Now I understand. Let's collect some rings then. Silver, do you hear someone?
Think you can help me?
No problem. Come on, Tails. Let's go and round up some rings.
Silver, looks like we might have our work cut out for us. Sonic and Tails are also collecting rings. Let's cut them off, then take the rings from them afterward. I'll go after Sonic.
Okay.
That boss fight drained Silver's powers. Think about that for a second. Silver is gasping for air after that battle. Has that ever happened to anyone else after a boss fight in this series? I really don't think it has. This tells us a couple of things potentially. One, maybe the writers didn't know what they were doing and decided to add in this plot point for Silver's story just because. Two, the boss battle was actually incredibly taxing for Silver, meaning Eggman Nega gave him a harder time than freaking Iblis did. And this time, there was 4 people fighting him at once, but Silver was still pushing his limits to win. I'm inclined to believe the second point over the first one, simply because Eggman Nega has already proven to be a force to be reckoned with before. So again, I have to give the guy props. But let's address the Crazy Clone's plan. He's harvesting Chow to feed a demonic hell beast so it can get even more powerful than it already is and destroy the world. Let that sink in for a minute. He's kidnapping Chow to feed them to a demon that will eat them alive. Do you realize how inhumanly sadistic that is? The Chow are literally equivalent to baby animals. Remember the Chow Garden? The developers based that concept on the other baby pet games of that time. Picture every single cute and innocent baby animal you can think of. The Chow represent all of them wrapped into one cute package for the Sonic series. And Eggman Nega is snatching them up to lead them to their slaughter from a literal gigantic demon who lives in a dimension of hellfire. That's his plan. That's what he's been doing since before the game started. Yeah, no, this is a scary guy. This is a twisted, psychopathic monster, and I am legit more disturbed by him than previously. But this illustrates just how far removed he is from being a real person. Remember his best case scenario clone stats? Yeah, I mentioned I was being generous with those. This right here is the results of the more realistic stats he has. This guy is sick and depraved of all the things that make people good and real. That's who Silver is dealing with in his future. And that's who he's got to stop at all costs.
Now that we're here, we should be safe.
Very well, Doctor. Tell me what you know.
Sorry for being so cryptic, Shadow, but Eggman Nega is very sneaky. He apparently got some old files from my late grandfather, Professor Gerald. Those writings tell of an interdimensional beast called the Ifrit, and Eggman Nega wants to release it. The key to opening the portal to the Ifrit's dimension is the 7 Chaos Emeralds. You must stop him.
So, if he gets all 7 emeralds, then the portal will open and the beast can get through. Rouge is collecting the Chaos Emeralds, right? How many do she and Knuckles have?
Shadow, they're coming!
Okay, leave this to us. Metal Sonic, keep Knuckles occupied by collecting rings. I'll talk to Rouge.
So we have the second half of the plan, the Chaos Emeralds roll, and now we see the full picture. Also, Dr. Robotnik has just confirmed Eggman Nega's craftiness, so we get some nice validation for most of his previous acts. Then, after a couple of surprisingly great scenes, mostly of Rouge and Shadow being hilarious and cute with each other, then some unsurprising meh scenes of everyone else, we eventually get back to Eggman Nega.
Hey, where did those thieves go?
You're not talking about me, are you?
Eggman! So, this is where you've been hiding. Perfect timing. If you're not behind the Chow disappearance, then what are you up to?
If I told you, I'd ruin the surprise. I'll tell you what, if you can defeat my creation here, I'll give you a clue. Ho ho ho!
Sonic, Tails, step aside! We need to talk to him first!
We'll see about that. Come on, Tails. It's time for round 2.
Rouge, something really strange is going on.
You're telling me. I just learned that someone's trying to release an Ifrit into our world. If this creature gets through the portal, it'll destroy our world. He might even have your precious Master Emerald. And since Shadow is looking for...
Really? Then let's go find him.
I'll save you the trouble. I'm right here. You see, you know far too much.
Rouge has already tracked down a number of the emeralds, thanks to her emerald detector. But she said that she'd been hired by someone.
What? Shadow, is that true? It must be Eggman Nega. He's the one who's using Rouge to gather the emeralds.
You now know too much.
Eggman, I knew you were wrapped up in all of this.
This has nothing to do with you. I just need you out of the picture for now.
Out of my way, you two. He's mine.
Shadow? Now what's your problem?
Fine then, I'll tell you. A monster known as the Ifrit is about to be released into this world. The portal to our dimension exists within a mysterious mansion, and the Ifrit must be stopped. Good luck! Ho ho ho!
Hey, Eggman! I bet he's up to no good again. I'd better go after him.
Sonic, the mysterious mansion has gotta be around here somewhere. We need to hurry!
News of the Ifrit slowly circles around the protagonists, and Eggman Nega gets a little creepier than earlier scenes, which I like. It's also great that Rouge is being used by Eggman Nega to get the Chaos Emeralds. It's his trademark manipulation and intelligence playing its role. Rouge refuses to reveal who hired her because, as she said, a professional never reveals their sources. He knew this about her and used it to his advantage, because if she was to tell everyone who hired her, Shadow or Metal Sonic or Silver would have let her know that Dr. Robotnik is actually Eggman Nega. Thus, her knowing his plan would convince her to keep the emeralds from him. His level of craftiness has not at all wavered from Sonic Rush. It's also worth mentioning that Robotnik Nega tells Sonic enough information to get him to go into Mystic Haunt Zone, where ghosts lie in wait for him and Tails, presumably to kill them. He's thinking several steps ahead and using classic baiting to get the heroes to do what he wants.
Boy, this place sure is creepy. Where could that portal be, huh? Who's there? That's me! That's one spooky look on my face. I'm out of here. Hey, it's chasing me!
Maybe this place really is haunted. I never should have suggested we split up. Huh? Ah! What? But that's me! I better get out of here!
I can't seem to shake this guy. What? It's changing. Now it looks like Tails. Hey! He just tried to hit me. I better see if I can knock this phantom out. Look! It's Eggman!
What the... You look like Eggman, but you also look different. Sonic, look! Our alternate selves are back!
It looks like Eggman's been possessed by a ghost too! Okay, Tails, it looks like it's up to us to knock some sense into him.
Silver, here's another chow.
Thanks, Espio. I think we found enough. Now that we have this many, things should be all right.
I told you that your attempts were futile, Silver!
Eggman Nega, what do you mean?
I've already acquired more than enough chow to feed to the Ifrit. I've got them all sealed away in a hidden room inside that mansion. See you around!
No! We've come so far, but...
Silver, we can't give up. Let's go and find that secret room.
Hey, Rouge, why are we at this spooky place?
I'm not sure. My client just told me I needed to be here.
Your client?
Huh? I mean, Eggman's gotta be hiding in here, don't you think?
I suppose. Well, let's go then.
There's Knuckles and Rouge. They're headed for the mansion. What should we do?
Follow them, of course. Espio, you follow Knuckles into the mansion, and I'll head off Rouge.
Doctor, Rouge is in possession of 6 of the Chaos Emeralds, and she just went toward the mansion.
Shadow, if you get too close to the mansion, the signal will break up. I'll head there from here too. You get the emeralds.
There's something not right about this place. I don't like it one bit. Rouge must have gone in to find the last Chaos Emerald. Metal Sonic, intercept Knuckles and Rouge while I go after the emerald.
Again, the writers surprised me, making a intelligent and exciting final act for this story. Eggman Nega has the greatest moments of craftiness and planning in this scene and the ones to come. It isn't a coincidence that Dr. Robotnik wouldn't be able to communicate through Metal Sonic inside the mansion. Remember what he said? I'll head there from here too. This was a setup for a minor plot twist later, just like the dialogue with Silver and Espio. I assumed he was lying, and as they were searching for the Chow room, Eggman Nega would take all of the Chow they were gathering with them the entire game and use those to feed the Ifrit, which would have been masterful to the highest degree. My god, just think about it. LOL, but nope, that doesn't happen. There really is a secret room with the Chow he's taken in it. But still, that was some good misdirection for the audience who assumes it's all a wild goose chase. He also told Rouge to meet him there for a specific plot twist that comes later, which falls a little flat but still works in his favor. And of course, his hate for Sonic and need for revenge against him specifically is satisfied a bit when he six ghosts on him. Even Knuckles has been playing his game the whole time. The emerald detector that was stolen from him was a trick too. I mean, there's just so much forethought and expert planning in this final act that all the other stuff is forgivable.
What happened, Espio? Any luck finding the secret room?
No. And I've looked everywhere.
Well, it has to be here somewhere.
Silver, look. It's Eggman Nega. And Shadow and Metal Sonic too.
Eggman Nega is the only one who knows where that room is. We have to get him.
Hey, Shadow. I've been waiting for you.
Eggman, Knuckles and Rouge are following me. They'll be here soon, with 6 Chaos Emeralds. We'll go in search of the remaining emerald. I'll leave the rest to you.
Well done, Shadow. I'll handle the rest. Those Chaos Emeralds are as good as mine.
Shadow and Eggman, finally. Tell me where the Master Emerald is, now!
I have no emerald for you.
That laugh. It can't be.
Now, Rouge, give me the Chaos Emeralds as promised.
As promised? So you're my... Sorry, I've changed my mind. The Chaos Emeralds are staying with me.
I finally found you. Party's over.
Oh, look. Here's another little pest.
Silver, you're too late!
You're Eggman Nega. You tricked me. Now you'll pay for it.
Sorry, Shadow, but this guy's mine.
Not you again. I'm tired of you. Tired of all of you.
I mean, do you even need me to explain how perfectly all of this worked out for Eggman Nega? This was just so delightful to see unfold. And the voice acting, once again, is so great for Nega. It's too perfect. Unfortunately for Eggman Nega, his one miscalculation from the first game comes to bite him in the butt in this game.
Darn! Now where'd Eggman run off to?
Sonic, wait up! There are tons of Chow sealed up in this secret room here!
Just as I figured. Eggman was behind this. Tails, get these Chow to a safe place.
Got it!
After underestimating Sonic or forgetting about him altogether, he's lost the Chow, the essential piece for the Ifrit to become powerful enough to go through the portal and destroy the world. And from this one miscalculation, the rest of his plans seem to fall apart.
We had 6 Chaos Emeralds. 6! I've never had that many in my life. Now I won't get paid.
Who did you say you were working for? Wait, did you hear that?
Guess luck is just on my side. Now, to get all those Chow from my secret chamber. What? They're gone! Every single one! How could this be?
Huh?
I guess luck isn't on your side after all.
No! With just one more Chaos Emerald, I could have opened the portal, but...
Things aren't looking good for the old future Doc, is it? Oh, but there's another plot twist that has yet to reveal itself. One that I believe Eggman Nega knew about the whole time, despite this line about one more Chaos Emerald. I won't reveal it now, but believe me, Eggman Nega has planned this whole thing out.
What? Why is the portal opening?
What? But you only have 6 of the emeralds.
Guess luck is on my side.
Look, there's a portal opening. Is that the secret room?
No, Espio. That's the portal to the Ifrit's dimension. It's too late. I knew there was no way for me to change the future.
Look, the portal is opening up.
Huh? But to open it, you're supposed to have all 7 emeralds. If we only had 6, why is it still opening?
That doesn't matter. We've got to stop it before that monster gets through. Come on!
Wait! What are you doing? We can't go in there.
Now's our chance. Let's go!
No! Let go of me.
Ha! Even without the Chow, the Ifrit's might is still enough to destroy you! Come forth, Metal Sonic version 3.0! Proceed through the portal and awaken the Ifrit!
No!
That's not going to happen, Eggman Nega. I'm going to change the future with my own hands.
Shadow, it's too soon to give up.
Doctor?
According to my grandfather's research, there's a switch to close the portal from inside. Shadow, you have to hurry. Close it before the Ifrit awakens.
Understood, Doctor. Leave it to us. Come on, Metal Sonic.
Whoa! Where the heck are we? No time to worry about that now. I gotta find Eggman before the door closes.
Sonic's counting on me. I have to track down Eggman before the door closes.
I probably should have come up with a better plan before I just barged in here. Rouge! Where are you? This area seems very unstable. I better get out of here and quick!
Knuckles must have ditched me. I'd better find him quick. Oh, and he's gonna pay for this. This place is way too hot. I'd better get a move on fast.
What happened to this world? Has it already been destroyed by the Ifrit? There's Eggman Nega's copy of Metal Sonic. I can't let him get away. Okay, you metal copy. I finally caught up with you, and now I'm putting a stop to you.
A world of flames and destruction. It's just like the future our own world faces. If I can just stop the Ifrit, though, then that future will never come to pass. There's no time. I've got to hurry.
I've caught up to Eggman Nega's Metal Sonic copy. If I can just get to the Ifrit before him, I can stop the resurrection. Time to show what I'm made of.
Alright, the mad dash to beat the clock. Everyone's focusing on either getting to Metal Sonic 3.0, or trying to meet up with their partners, or just get to Dr. Robotnik. Remember this because it's gonna be slightly important later. Also, we've got confirmation for the inescapable dystopian future concept, based on what Silver is saying in his scene. Which means that this is also confirmation for the multiple timelines concept, which Eggman Nega most likely experienced. In Sonic 06, there's a total of 8 time jumps for characters going anywhere other than their appropriate time period. And it's been established that each instance of time travel in the Sonic series creates an alternate world/timeline because of that change in time. Which means if we add the original timeline before all the 8 time travel trips, we've got at least 9 different timelines. And the 8 timelines that we don't follow, because they aren't the timelines the game focuses on, we still have 8 timelines that could lead to an Iblis-ruled future. Eggman Nega, being a time traveler and a dimension hopper, very easily could have seen these futures. And even if he didn't, Silver's line here proves that at the very least, Eggman Nega has been witness to 2 possible futures where the world is devastated beyond repair. And that would be enough to confirm his beliefs about life and death and his overall reason for wanting to destroy the past, to spare the world of an inevitable, wretched future. But let's talk about Metal Sonic 3.0 for a moment. Remember how Metal Sonic symbolically represented Eggman Nega back in the first Rivals game? Well, now we've got Metal Sonic 3.0 representing Eggman Nega. Let me tell you why that's not so good for him. First off, why is it called Metal Sonic 3.0 instead of 2.0? Well, if you recall, in the first Rivals, there were 2 instances where Metal Sonic challenged all 4 protagonists. And Eggman Nega said before the second Metal Sonic battles that I've already updated this new model with the data collected by the previous Metal Sonic. Meaning, these were 2 different Metal Sonics that the protagonists fought. So since he built a Metal Sonic 1.0, trashed it to make way for Metal Sonic 2.0 in the first Rivals, this new model is called, of course, Metal Sonic 3.0. Second off, and this is the important one, what is Metal Sonic 3.0's role compared to Metal Sonic 1.0 and 2.0's role? The previous models were all about challenging each of the characters and their sense of identity. They represented the inner clone complex of Eggman Nega, and Sonic revealed the unfortunate truth that all clones dread to admit. They were very instrumental in understanding Eggman Nega's character and hidden demons driving him to be who he is currently. Metal Sonic 3.0's role is, well...
I'm afraid that my Metal Sonic was just a decoy to keep you distracted.
Yeah, it's just here as a distraction. Its worth is considerably less than its predecessors. Ring any bells? Third off, which clarifies the second off, Metal Sonic 3.0 perfectly represents Eggman Nega, who we've established as a multi-generational clone. Let's look at Metal Sonic 3.0's lineage. First, there's the one true origin of all Metal Sonics, Sonic himself. Then, there's Dr. Robotnik's Metal Sonic, which Eggman Nega must have seen for himself, because he makes a replica of it for his Metal Sonic 1.0 in Rivals. Then he scraps that one and makes a new and improved Metal Sonic 2.0. Then that one is scrapped and we come to this new Metal Sonic 3.0. From Sonic to this Metal Sonic, there's 4 models between them. This makes Metal Sonic 3.0 a multi-generational clone as well. And so this robot is the perfect symbolized Eggman Nega, yet his significance is less than any other Metal Sonic. Why is that? Once more, we're shown that ugly self-loathing part of the clone complex. Remember that a clone that knows it's a clone will call itself a hollow imitation of the genuine article. That's a major case of self-loathing, and that's for the first clone. We've deduced that with Eggman Nega's best case scenario, the most he could hope to be is a 5-fold clone of a clone. How much lower would his self-worth be? He thinks of himself as less than nothing. And he has the same attitude toward this manifold replica. So the only use he has is being a distraction so more important things can happen elsewhere. That's pretty sad. Even though Nega has every intention of killing all the heroes, getting all the chow to feed the Ifrit, and making it so it can destroy everything that exists. To think of himself as this low, that's stirring up complex feelings for this character. At least it is for me.
I found it. The switch to close the portal. It's done. Come on, Metal Sonic. Let's get out of here before the portal closes on us. What? The Ifrit? It's awake? No. If we don't get out now, the portal will close. Let's finish this quick, Metal Sonic.
That's the Ifrit? But how? Nobody had even reached him yet.
How regrettable, Silver. I'm afraid that my Metal Sonic was just a decoy to keep you distracted.
You coward!
Silver, look. The portal is beginning to close.
What? Who pressed that switch? Yeah, well, I'm not getting stuck in here. Metal Sonic version 3.0! Eliminate them quickly!
Don't you worry. This will be over real quick.
We'll see about that!
Eggman Nega is still being crafty, even now. In this hellish, demonic dimension, he's still tricking the protagonist and misleading them to get what he wants. His relentless nature is showing, and I appreciate how the writers made it work with his cleverness as well. However, another miscalculation has got him panicked, which is why he falls on Metal Sonic 3.0 to get him out of there. Now I know what you're thinking. Saj, I thought you said he didn't care about dying or anything because he thinks life equals pain and suffering. Why is he worried about being stuck in the Ifrit's dimension? That's a great question, and here's the answer. Eggman Nega doesn't care about living for the various reasons I mentioned before. But the one thing we must always keep in mind is this. He wants to destroy all life. He's still got Dr. Robotnik's world-conquering obsession hardwired in his mind, but it's been twisted to this degree. His belief is, if life is endless pain and agony, then death is joy and peace. Death is a utopia, and if he destroys/kills everything, he will have, in his mind, achieved his goal of creating his ideal utopia from the planets. Dr. Robotnik's Eggman Land is his ideal utopia and a physical place, but Eggman Nega's Eggman Land is his ideal utopia, which is the afterlife, a non-physical place. So if he dies in this dimension, he will have failed in his ultimate goal, and that is something he can never allow to happen. The idea of Eggman Nega relying on Metal Sonic 3.0 in this most desperate time is symbolic of his loneliness and isolation. Remember the magnet comment made in Sonic Rush? I said this was our clue that tells us he will repel the people that are in any way like him, and his clone complex mixed with his antagonistic status keeps him isolated from everyone else. Eggman Nega has always been and will forever be alone. Therefore, he has no one he can rely on but himself. And that's just heartbreaking because, as mentioned earlier, he thinks of himself as less than nothing. So he has less than nothing to rely on. This loneliness is his fate. And in this dimension so similar to his home, it appears that the symbolism is telling us that his goal of escaping from a hellish life of torment is not going to happen. The portal closing is also symbolism, his time running out literally, seeing as a 5th generation clone has an incredibly short lifespan. So the symbolism tells us if he can't escape this hellish place before his time runs out, he'll be stuck without ever accomplishing his life's ambition, and he'll die instead, never mattering in the slightest. And he only has one true ally, himself, someone he values as less than nothing.
Well, that's the last we'll see of the Ifrit. But now that the portal is closed, we have no way back to our own world. If I only had a Chaos Emerald, I could use Chaos Control to warp out of here. What are you doing, Metal Sonic? You'll destroy yourself.
What a twist!
A Chaos Emerald was inside you all along? So that's why it opened. Let's do it then. Time to get back to our own world. Chaos Control!
At last, the future is safe once more. Espio, let's head back before the portal closes.
Okay.
Wait, you two! My legs are caught under this rubble and I can't move!
You reap what you sow, Eggman Nega.
Hey, wait a minute! You can't just leave me here!
Thanks for helping me, Espio.
No, I should be thanking you. You helped to save our world, too.
Well, I guess it's time to head back. I hope the new future is a happy one.
Be safe, Silver.
You too, Espio.
Now it's all over. He's failed. Only this failure is quite possibly the final one he'll make. The last thing he'll ever do. He's stuck while everyone else escapes in one way or another back to their dimension, leaving him begging for help. Help he'll never get. In fact, Espio's final words to him are quite poignant, probably the most striking thing anyone has ever said to him, including Sonic's remarks about copies and originals. You reap what you sow, Eggman Nega. I don't know if you've caught this yet, but Eggman Nega's choices were non-existent. He couldn't choose to sow anything better than what he had. Imagine with me for a second that you're a farmer, and you wanted to plant a bunch of various crops, like all the other farmers do. And you go to get seeds for different crops, but there's no seeds anywhere. All day you ask for any kind of seeds, any kind of root, anything you can put in the ground and grow. But all you get is a bag of sunflower seeds from a gas station. Not even pumpkin seeds. All you have is a tiny 25-cent bag of sunflower seeds. Unfortunately, this is the last day to plant crops so they can grow in time for harvest. If you don't plant something today, you won't have a chance to ever again. Your only choice now is to go home and plant those seeds. They're all you've got. You never had a choice to put anything else in your fields. So when it's harvest time and everyone is gathering their potatoes, their carrots, their apples, their spices, everything you wanted to plant, they're pulling them out of their fields by the row barrels full. And you look at your tiny patch of the field, and all you've got are sunflowers. Then someone with a giant truck full of their fruits, vegetables, and various other goods drives past your field and says, "You reap what you sow." What would you say to that? Would you try to explain that if you didn't sow these crappy flowers, you would have absolutely nothing? Would you tell them it was easy for them to say they had the seeds and materials that you tried your best to get? Would you tell them to mind their own business before you broke their neck? If Eggman Nega was this farmer, he would have simply said this. This was the best I could do with what little I had to work with. That's the truth of it all. It was destined to end badly for him. It was destined before he was even created. He had no chance to be anything but what he currently is. So yes, he got his just desserts. But is it just when he didn't ask for any of this? He didn't ask to be created. He didn't ask to live in a world constantly burning. He didn't ask to be insane beyond repair. He didn't ask for any of this. So is this really a just end for him? I'm afraid the answer is too complicated to hammer down with a blanket yes or no. All I know is that this ends the immensely terrifying, incredibly depressing, and highly impressive story of Eggman Nega. He doesn't appear in another canon game as of August 2017, which is when I wrote this script. This identity crisis, clone complex, creepy, crafty, omnicidal maniac who pursued his dark ambitions earnestly, sincerely did the best he could with what little he had to work with.